All right, so if we're going to start drawing a face, we have to start with a construct. Because everything in nature has a construct. What's the construct for the human being? DNA, right? But a skeleton is kind of our construct. A car is a chassis, a building is 2x4s and the foundation of the house. These are the things that support the object. These are the things that hold the object together. So think of drawing as physically building something like that. Like, what's going to hold it together for me? What's going to keep my face together? And so when you begin a drawing, you should start with the construct, okay? So in a construct, you should focus first on location. All right, now location to me is where is it? You know, where's the top of the head? Where's the bottom of the head? Where's the left side of the face? The right side of the face? Where's the center of the face? Where are the eyes? Where are the nose? You know what I mean? So what you're doing with location is you're making sure things are placed correctly, right? Because the last thing you want to do is finish rendering a face and then realize, oh, I placed that eye too low, right? Because no matter how well you render something, the average person knows when it doesn't look right. Because they're so familiar with looking at faces. They know when an eye's too big or too small or not in the right angle. They can just feel it. All right, so placement. Now, as you do placement, you are creating size. So size is very important. At the beginning of any drawing of any element of any object, it is very important that you do your sizes correctly, because size is proportion. So you got to make sure your proportions are correct. And you should always start that with big to small. You know, everything I'm talking about should always start from large things to smaller things. You don't build a building by starting with the bathroom, right? You start with the floors. How many floors is going to be? How many rooms on each floor? So you're thinking big proportions to small proportions. All right, and then the last aspect of the drawing is the structure. The idea of structure. That's the hardest one to convey, because the understanding of an object is your understanding of the structure of that object. To convey the structure, you have to give the object a 3D feeling. Make it feel 3D. How do you make something feel 3D without shading? You can't shade yet. You can't turn it by going lighter and darker. Yet how can I convey that something is behind, something is in front, something's on top, something's underneath? Sorry? Well, yeah, I mean, you're dealing with the size of things, but what you're going to use to convey the structure is overlap. Using overlapping movements will help you do this. So when you begin a drawing, do you guys draw lightly or dark?
Light.
Very good. You should draw lightly. Very gentle. Like, look how dark this charcoal is. But I should very gently lay it down, because I'm not sure that's where I want that, right? Maybe I want that down here, or maybe down here. And if I'm going that dark, then it's going to be harder to erase it. And if you're doing that with paint, like drawing directly on the canvas with paint, you want to start very thin and very light by wiping your brush. You're watering down the paint, but when you water it down with your mineral spirits, you're creating almost like a black ink. And if you go with a loaded brush with that black ink, you're going to make dark marks. So wipe that brush and put very faint, light, I call them light, ghosty, bandy marks. Okay? Because they're light, they're ghosty, and they're bandy. And they're easily to erase. Where this is harder to erase. And more importantly, just the fact that mentally it conveys a feeling of permanence. You know what I mean? This does not feel permanent. This does. And so you might be rigid in moving it in your mind. All right. So the drawing stage goes from a construct to then the idea of silhouette. To a silhouette. And this is where rules of light logic comes in, because the silhouette stage is the stage where you're clearly defining what part of my object is in light and what part of my object is in shadow. And that's always the first thing you have to convey in any drawing. But you have to have the object first. So you have to build the object, then put a light on it, divide it into light and dark. And if you do that well, you should have your lightness. Okay?